Shauna Barnes, founding partner here at Barnes Beverage Group.
Perfect. All right. Give me a cloud level overview about what Barnes Beverage Group is.
Yeah. So we're a full service law firm that services the beverage industry. So when we say beverage industry, it's all of the intoxicating beverages. My background started actually in craft beer as well. And then similarly kind of expanded out into hemp and intoxicating THC beverages. And then sparkling energy, functional, you name it. We just kind of followed our clients where they wanted to go.
And are you geographically restricted at all or anything like that?
No, so we're a fully national firm. My husband and I run the firm together. We're based here in Annapolis, Maryland, with 5, soon to be 7 to 8 other folks. But then we have the rest of our team. We've got 15 now, is spread out geographically all over the country, up and down the East Coast, some in Middle America, and then also we have a few in Portland, Oregon as well.
Very cool. If there's a startup founder listening that hasn't retained a lawyer other than starting their LLC or anything like that, what are some of the top common things that you deal with? And then we don't have to name brands, obviously, but like what are some of the top issues or topics you guys deal with?
So for our smaller brands or our startups, it's a lot of formation and entity planning, right? So making sure that if you've got a partnership agreement with somebody or you got a money guy, that we're planning for a potential problem. Hopefully there's no problem. I love it when they get shoved in a filing cabinet and never come back out, but just in case. But then we also do a lot of the labeling, formulation, kind of review and support to help make sure that what you want to put on your label matches how it's formulated. And so you're not disappointed, right? You don't think you're going to run with a product that you can't call it what you want to call it, or you can't market it how you want to market it. A lot of distribution agreements, trademark, and those sorts of things. Hopefully nobody of that size is in a lawsuit, but sometimes that's all. Because that's how the small brands come in. They're pissed at their co-packers. They're mad at their co-packers.
Oh, we curse all the time. You're good. Yeah. Don't hold back.
Here, I use all the words. But no, so they're mad at their co-packer or they're, pissed at a distributor and want to break up. So sometimes they come in that way, but I don't like litigation. I think it's a waste of everyone's time and money. So usually it's more of those kind of formation type things to help folks get their product on the shelf.
I see the Penn State shirt. I'm a Penn State guy. Did you go to Penn State?
Oh my gosh, yes. My whole family went to Penn State. I have an enormous fan. Yeah.
No one ever wants to be the black sheep that doesn't go.
Well, there was a moment in time where, to piss off my parents, I told them I was going to go to Pitt. And my mom was like, "That's fine. We're not paying for it." And I was like, "Okay."
The only next one you could have been is like, "I'm going to Notre Dame."
Right, 100%. Well, I mean, this was some years ago, but I knew I wanted to go to law school, so I was like, "I will take whatever financial support you will give me, parents, wherever I go. That's it. It's fine." But it was the best place. So it was the right move.
That's awesome. Well, I'll give the audience some context. I got to meet your husband while we were lobbying together in DC and stuff like that, and kind of. Let's not necessarily all focus 100% on him, but I do, while you're on this call, would like to spend a few minutes talking about where we are and kind of as much as you want to share about. I mean, I can kind of fill in as well from different levels as far as state goes and stuff like that. But I guess I'll just say, like, where's your perspective on it as a business and kind of what advice? Let me leave it this way. I don't want to leave it as like just feelings. I want to leave it as like action items that like where you see it, and then what opportunities where people can step in and help kind of keep this thing moving forward for the next couple of months.
Yeah. So my husband, Brandon, probably told you we are personally consumers of these products. We love them. So we are pretty pissed off about the current state of the regulatory framework, but it is what it is. So I think federally, what we're recommending and kind of the way that we see it is plan for the ban to go fully into place. I think doing anything other than that and spending your energy doing much other than that right now would not be the best use of your time. I think similarly, continuing to lobby your Congress people. We're actually in Andy Harris's district. He won't take our meetings unless we're calling on behalf of the Brewers Association. But trying, we send emails, we know they go into the void, but and it is what it is. But to the extent that we can, our business is here in Indianapolis, so we'll reach out to our local reps every couple of weeks just to say, hey, we're still here and we still care about this. So if there's an opportunity to support us, please do. And then in terms of what we're telling our clients to do, to your point, it's like, where are the opportunities? Where can you lean in? I think sell as much as you can this summer, right? Like sell as much as you can this summer, stockpile as much cash as you can to hopefully weather the storm. We do think it'll come back. All the signs are indicating that once there's some leadership change in the House and the Senate, particularly the Senate, we think that there will be some really good forward progress and motion. But there's probably going to be a period of time where we're sort of treated like traditional, recreational marijuana cannabis. So to that extent, selling as much as you can through the summer, sort of planning to make sure that you don't end up with a bunch of excess inventory. That's what we've been telling our folks to do. And then pivot. What can you do to keep your brand alive? So is it a functional beverage? We have some clients looking at Canna and Kava. What can you do to just weather the storm while we wait for the next iteration of kind of a hemp regulatory or cannabis beverage regulatory framework, depending on what comes down. That's also got some side benefit, right? If you pivot to a functional and you've never done a functional before, you get a trademark. So there is some benefit. I know some of my clients are like, that's cute, Shauna. That's not like great. So you're like, yay, trademark. No business, trademark. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've been doing. And to the extent that you're in distribution as well, what we've been telling folks is think about, is that the right distribution partner for a functional beverage? Do they want your functional beverage? How do you wind that down? Because I do think all signs point toward this going through some sort of a 3-tier system in the future. So that's kind of your federal.
Yeah.
State, what we've been counseling a lot of folks on, and Brandon's actually doing, my husband, who I think I mentioned we run this together. He's doing a presentation at Hemp Beverage Expo in a couple of weeks on
Oh, nice. I'll see him in a few weeks. I'll be down there on a panel with the Brewers Association and Boston Beer. Yeah, it'll be Paul and Matt, the economists from the Brewers Association, and then Paul Weaver from Boston Beer,
Really?
And Matt from Scofflaw. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's
so I'll be moderating, and it's all about what craft beer taught us, and then where we see this category going because of what craft beer taught us. Yeah,
I totally love that. But yeah, so he'll be doing a panel on disaster planning, and part of that is lost my train of thought. Disaster planning. Part of that is I was talking about maybe distributors.
Yep, you're going down the distributor path of their recommendation.
That's what I was going to say. Is I think there's an opportunity if you're in a state that has a strong regulatory framework to do some intra-state sales, kind of akin to, again, what recreational cannabis has done over the years, right? So if you're in like a Tennessee or New York, where there's a clear framework where you can sell a hemp beverage outside of a dispensary channel, like there's some opportunity there. And there are some states, as you're saying, like, what can we do that isn't just crying? Like there are some states where there's some real volume there.
I'm not a good crier. I mean, I'm a roll them up and hit me again and ask for another one.
I was gonna say it's that, like, for me at least, like the from Pittsburgh, like kind of Midwest, like you shut that shit down and you go. You just work.
Exactly right. I was raised blue collar, and we take the hits.
100%.
My family was at the steel mill with the protests many moons ago.
Oh, I love that.
So, yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, but my mom still works for one of the mills, so
that's
yeah. But yeah, so moral of the story, what we've been saying is maybe look to see if there's something you can do if you're in a good state, and if you're not in a good state, see if there's a way that you could get in kind of low cost, because there's some opportunity there. But B is going to kind of go through, I think, the details of that.
Perfect.
I'm happy to go further too if you want to talk about it, but
no, it's great. I want to also, actually, that's a great point. I want to lead a little bit more into the intrastate thing, because I think what I hear a lot from these interviews every week. I do about 4 to 6 a week, sometimes a little bit more, and they don't know what to do, and it's like and so I give the same exact advice you gave. So I took it from the CBC, and I attended your series there, and where I want to kind of also let people know is with Tryon, for example, Melissa and I are doing. Our agency is the one that created that Regulate Don't Ruin. So we did the website. We're doing the campaign across the state. We're the partnership that they mentioned in the last Hemp Beverage Alliance meeting. They just said they're working with somebody, and I was on the call. So I'm the somebody. So there we go. World Regulate Don't Ruin is a partnership between us and Millennial Marketing and Tryon Distributing, and we're actually launching on, and hopefully here in Pennsylvania. And I will publicly say this, that was the uncomfortable part, is we had some distributors that were ready to fund this program. And then our friends at the National Beer Wholesalers Association called all the distributors and told them to not publicly support anything with hemp. So on Friday, my afternoon phone calls were rescinding pledges. So we were about to launch this week our Pennsylvania campaign for petitions. So now this week I'm pivoting after we finish this call as well to figuring out the new angle in which to get the fundraising necessary to make the impact. Because I believe just as much as you do that regardless of the federal, if we have solid, sound states' rights in place, one of the things in our bill, House Bill 2309 for Pennsylvania, the bottom of it is states' rights supersede federal law. As well as we actually expanded it to be a very unique bill where we allow dispensaries to also buy a permit. So dispensaries are allowed to buy a permit, as well as coffee shops, as well as everything. So it's not exclusive to liquor, but it is an all open thing that everybody can participate if they want to, but you got to buy a permit, you got to be inspected, you got to be regulated. That took the wind out of the sails of the opposition, which was going for dispensary only with the Senate Bill 49.
Well done.
So that's we very much were very strategic in that, and I'm sure give credit to Jay over at Wainer and Associates. I'm sure you've known Jay for a long time and stuff like that. So he's very much in the corner of doing this and trying to get this thing moving. But we are definitely back to ground zero as of Friday afternoon.
I mean, I always joke like, "Welcome to hemp."
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing. Everybody's like, "Are you tired of this yet?" I'm like, guys, I've been selling alcohol for 22 years. And I represented 30 brands in the craft beer industry from the heyday of it. And it's like, to meet the opposition, like at a beer level that I would be in Miller Coors meetings supporting them, and then be in another meeting where I was in opposition to that. And it's just the nature of competition. It's the nature of business that you're never going to have smooth sailing. Somebody always wants to cut your knees out. Somebody always wants you out of business. And the ones that I gotta give tough love to brands that ask me, what do I do? It's like, you fight. And you don't fight until you go bankrupt or anything like that, but you fight until you're in a sustainable way.
Completely agree.
So talk to me a little bit about your story. I want to know your story, because there's not a lot. People know that, there's alcohol lawyers out there and things like that. And there's lawyers that can help you in all areas, but it is a niche thing. And I don't mean niche as small. I mean niche as you are intentionally in that path.
Yes.
And so talk to me about your life. And I mean, literally your personal life leading up to this, that led you to law school and that led you to choose this path.
Yeah, you got it. So I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, outside Pittsburgh.
Where exactly?
So I went Washington Township. So I went to Kiski area, not Kiski Prep.
All
Kiski
right.
Yes.
My family's from Bedford, Somerset. We still have a property there. So I wanted to connect with you on that. Yeah.
I love it. So I grew up there. My parents both worked for the mill. So been through multiple strikes, whatever. So they always wanted me and kind of steered me toward going to law school. And there was some, youthful rebellion where I was like, no, I'm gonna be a journalist. No, it wasn't.
You just triggered me, because my dad worked in the steel mill, and then he went to General Motors, and he wanted me to be a lawyer, and then I went to corporate communications and public relations for college. So I'm just joking. You're fine. I'm playful with it. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because the real reason I didn't want to do it is I realized that if you were going to be a journalist, you had to bother people at their most vulnerable. And like, that's just not who I am. Like, I want to help you. I don't want to bug you. Right. So went to Penn State, loved it. Took full advantage of that 4-year college experience. And then when I was applying to law schools, was like, you know what, I probably should slow my ass down a little bit. And so I went to Wake Forest in North Carolina, and went to Salem, which is where I met my husband. Came out, had a shit ton of law debt. So it was like, I need to get the job that will pay me the most, which at the time was Dermot Will and Emery. But this was 2008. And so I got an antitrust offer. And this is not an antitrust lawyer. But I was like, staring down the debt. Brandon actually went there as well. He recruited me a little too well. It was a running joke. We were friends at the time, and then we ended up dating, got married. But I realized pretty quickly, like, that wasn't it for me. Like, I didn't want it. I didn't like it. Stockpiled as much money as possible to pay down as much of my debt as possible. And then had this so McDermott had, at the time, Mark Serini, who's now with the Brewers Association, was heading up their food and beverage practice. And I was chatting with him at a happy hour. I was like, I just want contracts. Like, I don't want to be in hospital basements pulling documents. Like, this isn't me. I would really like to do some contracts, and I had done some work for him as a summer. I was like, do you have anything you could give me? And he's like, hell yeah, I do. So I went into my office the next day, slightly hungover. There was a stack of files and a note that was like, see me, like, I've got some work for you. Completely changed the trajectory of my career. So I did that for a little while, kind of straddling one foot in antitrust, one foot in alcohol. And ultimately got the opportunity to go to Dogfish and start their legal department, which, yeah. And once I was in, I was never leaving, right? I felt like
The second connection is I started this business in 2008. So I've had this business as a solopreneur for 18 years, and I started it after, I was selling Dogfish Head when I was at Aurelio.
Oh yeah.
Fell in love with the brand, the culture, got to meet Sam at a very young age. And I was like, I fucking want to be whoever this guy is. And I want to walk in whatever footsteps, and brewing up a business. And that was the book. And I read the book. I'm sure it's probably on your shelf.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's when I started this business, was right after I finished reading the book. And then a year and a half ago, I went up and Mitchell actually made a connection, reinforced everything to Sam, and actually got to go up and shot the 100th episode of my podcast, Dogfish with Sam.
Awesome.
It's crazy. I didn't realize that was your connection too, because Sam and I were just on yesterday about trying to do some stuff again. So it's as far as just podcast related stuff. And so there's just every once in a while when I do these interviews, I want people to know, like, when we're kind of crossing paths and we're about the same age. So it's funny. Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. No, we are the same age, by the way, because you said your age, but I'm not saying mine again. But no, I think, so I went there, right? And if you imagine, this is 2012. So, heyday of craft beer, right? And they had this giant expansion. When I got there, I think we're in like, I want to say it was 16 states. I might be underselling it. It might be like in the 20-ish range, but it certainly wasn't fully national. And so I had the incredible experience of being able to do all of the legal work for this brewery. And my goal, there were some things I couldn't do, right? Like, I am personally, we have trademark attorneys here who are phenomenal, but like, I'm not filing trademark applications. So by very nature, like, I had to send some out, but my goal was to do as much as I could myself, to just to help. Like, and I wanted to learn. And then, Sam would come up with some crazy ass idea, like, let's put a record in a box of 750 bombers, and we'd have to go down and like fucking put the thing in and like retape it.
And I would load it on a truck and break it.
And then you would load it on a truck and sell it, right? But like, I put my steel toes and my PPE on, and I go down and like I remember sitting down with the engineers, negotiating the contracts for their expansion, and being like, tell me all the ways that this could go to shit. Right. Like, and I'm going to draft you a contract that plans my best for this to go to shit. And of course, some things did, and, but I really learned the business, and it was such an incredible opportunity. And there was never a moment of like, get out of here, lawyer. Like, nobody wants you in here. It was just, of course, like, yes, of course she wants to learn. Like, it'll make her a better lawyer. And it really did. Right. So I learned beverage, and we grew so friggin' fast. So like the first 4 years were just trial by fire, constant, so much. And then we hit about 2016, craft started to slow down. And so I also kind of got to see like, what does a more mature, because at that point we were in, I want to say like 40 states. When I left, we were 48. We were in like 40 states. We were looking at export. We were in Canada and some other, we had built a distillery. But it was like a more mature business. And like, what do you do when you have performing distributors and you need to rehab your network? And so like, I helped us flip the network from some of our first craft distributors to the Miller. We traditionally went to the Miller Course House, although sometimes we would take the AB house, but like flipped all these networks, renegotiated agreements, like just got this incredible experience at such a young age. And then when I was looking to leave, not because I didn't love Dogfish, but because at this point I'd had kids, and Dogfish, this is pre-COVID, so it's super button seat. And I was commuting. So Brandon was still commuting an hour and a half into DC where he was working, and I was commuting to Milton, Delaware from the Eastern Shore. And it just got to be too much. Like, if you have kids, anybody has kids, like, there's sniffles and there's things. And Brandon took public transportation and had to wait on a bus, whereas I could just get in my car and work, take calls and do whatever. I mean, I negotiated contracts from the car, driving to pick my kid up. There was this section on 16 where the friggin' cell would drop, and I'd be like, hold on, I'm in the corn. Then I'd like get out of the corn. I'd be like, okay, let's go again. Like, here we go. like it just got to be too much. So ended up going out and starting a food and beverage practice at a small law firm where a friend of mine was a partner. And there was never like I remember looking around and seeing like, could I find another in-house job in beverage, in beer? There was never a doubt in my mind that I was going to stay in this industry because it was my people, like
Mhm.
these are my people. The beverage people are unique and different, and selling a beverage is so unique and different to selling really almost anything else. And I didn't want to lose that expertise that I had. And I also didn't want to go work with different people. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
Like why?
we always make a joke. We always make a joke, and actually, a couple times I made it at not Sam Adams, at Dogfish Head, with when we would do those summits.
Oh
And
yeah.
so like the summit, I
Oh yeah.
remember the last one I was at was when they did the truth serum, and they had the 120 that was unlabeled, and they were handing it out to everybody, and they.
Yep.
And they're lawyer, so I'm not gonna get in trouble. But like, they didn't tell us the ABV,
I
so we
was
all just
there.
yeah. Harry Schumacher was speaking and all kind, and it was out in the patio or in the front lawn,
Yep.
and that was one of the funniest ones because like I at that time hadn't realized I'm 3.5 years sober now, but I didn't know what I was dealing with at the time because the industry and I don't want to get it too deep into it, but obviously the industry it was a different time, but also I don't want to use that as an underserving. We very much we drank all day long
Oh
and
yeah.
there wasn't a lot of time to like really realize if you had a problem or not until like a little bit later, and that was for me, and I own that. But I was crushing those things like
Oh
we
yeah.
were there, and then all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, I'm really drunk, and like it was funny.
We called it going to the dark side. So like in
Yes,
the tasting
that's
room.
exactly it. Yeah, yeah. I remember going over to Sam and like I was like, dude, I was like, we got to put labels on these moving forward. He's like, wasn't that good? I'm like, yeah, it's true, Sarah. You got it.
So it's funny you say that because we did actually start putting labels. So if you just looking to see if I had one, we put a cap. They're not haven't been we in a while, but it's like this color.
Yep.
We put a danger cap on it.
Yeah,
So
so
it's like right with the exclamation to let you know, like, hey, these ones are above. I think it was for anything above 10% or 12% or something like that.
yeah.
To sort of signal, maybe drink this one a little slower and only have one.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think what you said about the record player is
Mhm.
while it was a logistical nightmare from your end, while it was a logistical nightmare from the distributor end, while we had to figure out what was broken, what wasn't, because they did break.
Absolutely.
And it was the thing that I want to always credit is we need to take risks. We need to do unique things. We need to be okay that the record's going to break metaphorically. And that's the thing that I think we're losing. And I really fear that. I fear
Yeah.
that we're losing the risk and the grit in a survival mode sometimes,
The beer side, 100%.
on a couple of sides. I really think so on a couple of sides. I think even on the hemp side now, we're also going down this path where it's doing but on the beer side, we can talk about that because that's a way I want to talk about too. Actually, that's a great point. Is on the beer side of things, how do you see like where things are now? Because one of the things that we talked about in getting ready for this panel is we find in Pennsylvania alone, I think in the last 12 months, 64
Yeah.
breweries closed.
Yeah.
And 64 breweries didn't close because they had bad liquid. 64 breweries closed because they didn't understand how to run their business because there was not a wave of organic and demand that was
Yep.
existing there. And I think
Yep.
that's something that I hope I see you, yeah, you're agreeing with me is like, if anybody does anything right now, it's to go learn how to run a business to save your business.
100%. Learn how to run a business to save your business and be really effing careful about two things: who you let into your business, who's your investors, who's on your board, who's giving you advice. Because I call them vultures. There are some vultures out there who will just
Yeah.
take advantage of you and maybe not give you advice that is best for you. But then also how much debt you take out. Because ultimately, like when you look at I don't want to name any names because some of them were our clients,
Yeah.
but some of those Pennsylvania breweries that went under, it was because of either who they let in, private equity, or an investor that just didn't want to put any more capital in, or they had way too much debt, and the debt service, as soon as things went down, became too much to handle. And I think there was a lot of misspending of COVID funds and some other things as well. So I think like if you're to your point, you have to adapt. I think you have to adapt, but also and I say this is so much easier said than done, but you have to adapt without losing your soul. So I feel like some of our clients pivoted because like, well, everybody has a hard seltzer. And so they put in they put in equipment and things to be able to can a hard seltzer. It was a flash in the pan of a moment. There are hard seltzers, right? Like some people still drink them. I don't love them, but it's okay. Some people do. And
there's really only 3 or 4.
There's only really 3 or 4. And there's like, we have some clients that are up and coming and taking way more share on that than they should. But it's because they have a good story, right? They have phenomenal liquid and a really good story. And the brand ethos is there and everything is consistent. And that was, I mean, to me, that was the secret sauce of Dogfish. And it drove me fucking crazy. Like, as the lawyer, and God love Sam, if you listen to this, I love you.
I don't envy you as his lawyer.
Well, by far. But like, and I appreciated so much. He was doing these things because he was like, we're not going to make any money, but it's a good story. Everybody spit in this beer. We're going to make a chicha. It's a good story. We're going to go down to the pub and we're going to brew chalk lobster. And I'm going to need 20 of you to volunteer to crack the fucking lobsters into the, like, all of it. Right. And it was, and at some point we started to do the math and we were like, well, okay, maybe not everything can be a good story. Like, there needs to be some ROI. But like it was, everything went through the filter of, it originally was like Sam's gut, right? Like, does this feel like Dogfish? And then at a certain point, we put like a shout out to Bailey and Cindy and Nick and Sam and some of the others, like from those Dogfish here, like we put it all through a prism of like, is this Dogfish? And we put filters and there was a process and sometimes it was and sometimes it wasn't. And then Sam always was allowed to call an audible because it was his fucking business, right? So like, you did. But like we never lost the soul. Like, we never lost the soul. We never lost the story. And don't get me wrong, we made some beers that were not great. Or at least I did not think they were great, or they didn't sell in the way that we thought they would. But even like, I remember when we were doing Slightly Mighty, it was one of the last beers I worked on while I was there. And I didn't get it. Sam was just so focused on, can you put monk fruit in a beer? And I was so focused on like, how do we get this through TTP? And then what's the label going to say? And it clicked at one point. He was like, well, Shauna, this is for all of those people who are closet Michelob Ultra drinkers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm a closet Michelob Ultra drinker because I'm getting older and that shit sticks to me in a way it used to. So I was like, wait a minute, this is a full flavor 95 calorie beer with no sugar and, like, and they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh fuck, like I'm in. And it was there, right? Because it was like, it served a need and there was a purpose and the story was there and the can was beautiful. And like, and that I think is the key. Like, there are so many people that come into beverage looking to just flip a business. They're like, I see a white space, I want to flip a business. Like, you need to get into beverage because you're in love with your beverage.
Yes. I what you just said there is exactly it. And I need to reiterate, when I say I'm 3.5 years sober, I took a year away from the industry to get myself sober and get a footing, and immediately went right back. And everybody's like, why? And that's exactly what you just said. It's not because of the product, it's because of the stories and the people. Yeah. And I drive all day long. I do 3,000 to 5,000 miles a month in my car driving around. And I have RTD vodka. I have alcohol in my vehicle as I'm dropping samples. And I'm like, yeah, at any point I could be driving, reach back and grab one. For the past 3.5 years, and I don't. But I keep driving and I keep driving and I keep driving because I'm telling stories. I'm not a salesman. I go and tell a story. I leave a product. If they enjoy the liquid and they want to carry it, great. If not, I move on to the next storytelling opportunity. The days of being a salesman, pushing things into and jamming SKUs into a shelf is over. And I want to also connect with you. And I'm really curious if you were a part of this. The Adam Lambert, and I'm going to make fun of him, and he's going to laugh if he does listen to this at all. Adam's profit margin and his Excel file, that I had a full head of hair when I first was introduced to Dogfish Head. Mm-hmm. I believe it was that Excel file where it was like, okay, so you want one of these, so then that's going to change this over on cell 5, and then you're only going to get this of this. And I was just like, this is too much math for beers.
Well, it's funny. I mean, we had to do it that way.
I know, and that's what I'm trying to say. It was genius, but it was so hard.
It's amazing.
I was my point is to the compliment that someone was able to formulaically take the organize the chaos of the creativity that was existing in the chaos. I mean, in the most beautiful way possible.
It was amazing.
Because that chaos, while it was trial and error, gave acceptance and built a pathway for people to experiment. It broke the norm of like, here's this. We have IPAs, pilsners, lagers, and stouts. Yep. Well, that's what it was forever until a fucking champion came out and said, fuck all that. I'm spitting in my beer. I'm chopping up lobsters. I'm doing whatever. And all of a sudden the world's like, okay, how do we put this in the metrics? Because also you can't produce 50,000 cases
No.
of lobster stout, you know, like.
Well, and that is, it's so funny. Like I look back at it now because I'm at almost 16 years in beverage, which breaks my brain a little bit, a little over. But I look at it and I'm like, I didn't appreciate like how beautiful it was in the moment because I was just pulling my hair out trying to make it happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
I was the brand manager for Dogfish Head. I got death threats whenever they didn't get 120. If they didn't get what I used to have a wall. Wendy Doomer, I can tell you that I would print out. I would print out the emails where people wouldn't get 120 or whatever they wanted, and they would be like, "I'm pulling." I had people like pulling all their products out of my portfolio and like leaving it outside, and I would tape them all to the wall. And she'd like come in to have our like business plan meeting, and she's like, "Where's my wall of threats?" I'm like, "Here you go." And it's like, Nate, F you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm never carrying anything you sell again. I'm like, see that one case that I didn't give them just lost. And yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
Like, check out of my car.
Yeah. I'm getting my tires slashed. I'm not watching. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think to your point, I think the combination of like really great liquid has to taste good because if it tastes like shit, like it ain't happening.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
This is where I'm like, table stakes is that it has to taste good, right? And then you need to have a story, and not a made up bullshit story that you threw grok, right? Like a real story. Why did you make this? What purpose are you serving? And that's what I always tell them. I'm like, you gotta have a good marketing, but it's not just the marketing. Like you have to believe it and feel it and like live the soul of your brand. And then the last piece is then you got to make the math. Because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck. Sorry.
You're good. No,
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck how good the liquid is and how great the story is. If you're not fucking profitable, nobody's going to invest in you. Nobody's going to buy you. And at a certain point, the money runs out and the bank has your house. So like, you gotta do all three.
I'm on this show talking about I was homeless at a point during the past 18 years of building this business. I lived in motels and I moved around wherever I was working, whatever market I was working in. That's where the hotel I booked. And every day I would find the cheapest motel and that's where I would sleep that night, or I slept in my car. It's a story I tell on here often. And it's not of a place of pity or victimhood. It's that people, if you want to be in this business, you've got to be ready to do whatever it takes to be in this business. And it's not all green pastures and it's not all bank loans that are going to carry you through. And it's not all big, rich investors. It's grit and it's creativity and it's resilience.
Yep. Completely agree. It's hard. I do feel sometimes like part of my job is to be the killer of dreams, but
You have to.
but you have to. I mean, especially when folks are like, and I'm cashing out my 401k to start this beverage business. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get it. However, maybe then you don't start with a 50 state launch. Maybe you start with one market and you're selling it and you're sampling it and it's all you, right? So, and I do think that that's part of what people appreciate. Like, I'm not, I don't know, for better or worse, I am who I am. Like, I'm going to tell you whether or not I think what you're doing is good. I'm be kind.
I'm considered a very polarizing person because I'm just enough of the Asperger's and just enough ADHD where like I tell you how it is.
I love it.
Like
sell you shit. And I don't want to be, again, as I talk about like the vultures that are out there, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, I don't want to be one of the reasons why you didn't make it. They didn't tell you something because I didn't want to have the hard conversation, or I charged you for something that you didn't need. Like, that's just not. This industry is based so much on collaboration and kindness, and like people have been so wonderful to me in it that I just, anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm thinking of a couple of scenarios right now where, yeah.
It's one of those things where it's important, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a consultant, whether whatever, it's important to guide your clients the right way, even and even if it means the detriment of your relationship. Like I tell a story of a couple months ago where I was like doing executive coaching for a different industry. And I was on the 5th session of this executive coaching. And because I go deep in this executive coaching, like I don't have a workbook. I do it like this, where it's all motion. And I try to find their passion and remind them of their passion of it. And at the end of the 5th session, he realized he was just there for a paycheck. And at that point, I messaged the owners who were my direct clients, and I said, I'm going to fire myself right now because there is nothing I can do for my principle.
Yeah.
I can't manufacture desire and drive out of this person. And that's what you want from this person. Unfortunately, this is out of my hands now. And that's something that is a hard thing that we have to realize sometimes, that not everything's good for you. And exactly like you just said, just because you want to create a beverage brand does not mean you have to be in 48 states. Like the amount of brands that I talk to, and I'm going to leave this on so everybody knows, the amount of brands on this as well as anywhere else that within the first 6 to 12 months and they're in one state and they have 15 accounts and they're like, oh, we're going national. We're going to sign with KHE. We're in conversation with KHE. Great.
Oh no.
You're in conversations. Like conversations are free. But even then, when you get to that point, where are you going to find the $100,000 for the sales rep to be in that market? Because that's the other thing people don't realize. They're like, oh, well, I got marketing dollars. No, you need $100,000 to put somebody on the ground. Well, okay, I got $100,000. Okay, well, where's the other $100,000 to then market the product in parallel to the person on the ground to then get people to know that it's even on the shelf? Because putting on the shelf is one thing, but then you're in a billboard of a million other things. Somebody else got to drive, and that's when the sweat begins. Not on me, on them.
Agree 100%. And I think it's I know you come from the distributor tier, like the idea that the distributor is going to be primarily like, I feel like so many folks are like, I have a distributor. I'm done now. I made it.
90%.
The game began. Like, okay, you had a baby business. Now you have a real one. Saddle up, kids. Like, it's time to go.
And like brand building and distributorships ended 10 years ago. I'm sorry to wake everybody up and realize that in 2016 to 2017, it died.
1,000%.
And it is not coming back. Because here's what's happened since then is they've been onslaught by all these new categories and all these new inefficiencies and all this. They don't realize everybody. I ask a lot of people this. This is my one test. Did you meet with the distributor? Did you meet with them? Yeah. Did you meet in person? Yeah. Where did you go when you were at the distributor? Well, we went to the boardroom and then we went to the car. You didn't walk the warehouse? No. Why didn't you walk the warehouse? Well, it's just a warehouse. That's where you see who your competition is as well as who your share of mind is.
1,000%.
That's how you understand what is going on. And your brand manager, like when I was in the distributor space, like I had 37 craft breweries in my portfolio personally. That meant every day, 37 people depended on me to do a good job. That is a lot. And also, we're the same age. We're talking 2010 to 2017. I'm 20 some years old at this point. And I got 37 people in their home market that are depending on me to lead a team to then build their brand for them. And yeah, I did it for all of them. But those days aren't there anymore because the same guy that's sitting in my seat, or girl, I think it's a girl now, but the same person sitting in that chair does not have the same opportunities to build brands that I did 10 years ago.
The economics have shifted. Like it's different, right? It just is. It's different. And, and I've mellowed with age. I was very like, these distributors, like, I get it. Like they're running their own, like, own business, own inputs, own issues, own, masters, right? Like all of it.
Yeah.
So, getting their attention and getting in and getting what you can get, right? And then after that, like the idea that they're going to build it for you, it's not happening, to your point. It's all got to be supported. And then I worry, on the alcohol side, you've got franchise, you've got 3-tier, you've got some other components. But if you're talking about a functional or an energy drink, the other issue is, you mentioned KHE, like you got to plan for those to go to shit because the terms in those contracts are nuts.
And most people aren't even looking at bill backs, price promotions, all this other stuff.
If the inventory on the beer side, worst case scenario, the alcohol side, worst case scenario, your product goes out of code and maybe you're buying your inventory back at the invoice price, or it's just out there out of code, right? Depending on the state law. For a KHE, for some of the, like, you're buying it back at their profit price. Like you're basically guaranteeing their profit. And if it does not sell, where the f is that money coming from? So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll cancel clients, like don't do shit with those sales until you have enough saved up in cash in case it goes poorly. And then after that, take what's left and reinvest it into the market so that you can continue to grow. So back to your original point, you need, couple $100,000. I mean, if you're going to go, and I hate this, but let's just say it.
Per state, by the way, I hate to tell people, it's like to be really serious.
Do a fully national, like you've got chain mandates, there's something, you need probably $2 to $3 million. Yep. Table stakes. And that's, you're not hiring those folks directly. You're probably using one of the like fractional sales services to support you, right? Which is pros cons. Like we love them, especially
But
for
from a cash flow standpoint, it's more of a short-term hard part for them from a cash flow to hire those outside people because they can't make the commitment for the long-term employee.
Exactly. So it's just, you know, kind of backing it out to the original point, like slowing down, growing smartly, and not outpacing your cash flow is how you make it. And then other than that, like grinding it out. I mean, we had somebody that was like, I just, to your point, like I just want to make a cushy paycheck. I was like, beverage ain't it then. Like beverage ain't it.
Yeah. I have at 1 o'clock today, I have a meeting with a client of mine, and I'm not going to name them, but it's a similar thing. And it's one of those things where our conversation isn't how I get more money. Our conversation is going to be how do we decrease the budget while also giving some sort of an output to keep momentum moving forward. And I don't say that in a negative way. I'm open to those conversations with people because I appreciate the transparency when somebody calls me and say, I don't think I can make the next 2 retainer payments. Tell me that now, and we will figure it out and get to there. Where I've faltered as well with people, whether it's the conversation or in the past or whatever, or people's own ego not wanting to admit that they don't have the money, which sometimes is a majority of it. It's always like, don't tell me when the invoice is due. Tell me when the problems start.
I love that. One of my favorite clients was these 4 guys in a dorm room. They called me 3 times before they finally kind of like got it. Like I'm pretty sure they were hungover the first time they called me from whatever rager was happening the night before. They didn't end up making it, right? For a lot of reasons, they didn't end up making it. But they would call me and be super upfront, and I'd be like, then don't do this. Like, don't pay us to do this. You can do this. Like, call me. I'm not going to bill you. Like, I'll hold your hand through the licensing. Like, licensing is not rocket surgery. Like, you can get your own license as long as your shit's straightforward. It's just time consuming, and then you got to maintain it. And that's where people usually fall down. So, but like getting ahead of it, owning it, and having those difficult conversations and then I think that's also very character revealing as well. If a partner isn't willing to work with you when you've been upfront about where you're at, they're probably not the right long-term partner. And I've seen enough of those. You can imagine, I get a lot of the fun things. Yay, we landed a distributor. Hooray for us, right? Oh, we got this great deal, this great partnership, this influencer. I also get a lot of the like, for me. And how people behave in those moments kind of tells you, I think, a lot about
Well, there it is. It is. And that's the other piece is when I try to explain to them about the invoice piece, it's like, if you tell me ahead of time when the problem exists, then it's our problem to fix. Our problem.
Yep.
If you tell me when the invoice is due and you're going to tell me you're not going to pay, it's my problem now. And now what you just did was you're weak and you're cowardice because and I mean that, and I tell that to them, and this will stay in the episode because that's what you just put your responsibilities and your negligence of your running your business onto me. And now, however much money that invoice might have been, I'm a solopreneur. I'm not sitting. I'm also, that's the other thing that people need to realize. Yep. I'm not sitting with a bank account. I work with startups.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got 15 people's payroll to meet, right? Like, yeah. And I think, I love that because I think that there's so much to that like, yeah.
That's why I'm excited about this meeting this afternoon. Most people would be like, I'm so uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'd rather you tell me 2 months in advance 100%. Or a month in advance.
100%. Because there's something that can be done about it then.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the ignoring the utility bill until it turns into a red
until envelope. It turns the lights out. Yeah. Well, and what I was going to say is I think that, for me, I think all the time about, we have, I love having our business. It consumes my whole life. My husband and I we're constantly talking about it. So, but I get all the upside and the joy and the like, I mean, right? Like I built this, you did this, like, this is incredible. We have, we're 15 people, we're chambers ranked, and we like all the things, right? On the flip side, I'm the one that has to take those fucking calls. I think that's what people forget. You don't get all the upside of like, I built a business and a beverage and look, there it is on the shelf and it's crushing it. Like you also have to take the calls from the pissed off distributors and the pissed off retailers and deal with the fact that the co-pack line went down and your time is off. And, I'm yelling at you because you haven't paid me or whatever. Like you get both. So you get all the upside. You also get the downside. And that's I mean, that's like America, right?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And my business is called Free Mind for a reason. You know, what I mean, it's like it's you have it all, and it's all going to be there, and it's a matter of embracing it and figuring out how to navigate it. So I want to start. I'll start doing the kind of wind down here now, and kind of anything you want to share or anything that you want people to know about Barnes Beverage Group.
No, man. I mean, I think this is I really enjoyed this. So no, I mean, we're here to help. So if we can ever be helpful, reach out. And if you see me eating a boot, if I've got a beverage in my hand, that's a great time to poke me for some free advice. I'm always good for it, especially if
A lot of times at the end, giving you like some topic that I'm working on, and I was like, let me let the last 5 minutes to get a billable hour out of it.
I love it.
No, you're good. No, it's I'll use that later.
You call that favor in a later day. More than 5 minutes.
Yeah. I've been in this business long enough with all the guys that are heritage in this. I'm not a favorite guy. I'm a let's do it all together guy.
I love it.
But I want to kind of give everybody kind of snapshots about online, where to find you guys. If a brand's listening and they're like, I really dig this personality, and this seems like a real down to earth lawyer. Which, by the way, I'm going to also, before you say anything, I want everybody to know I've spent time with Brandon, in over a 2-day period, not just at 15 minutes at a happy hour. And I can tell that if Brandon is representative of you, which it seems like it is, and you as the business, this is a stand-up guy and a stand-up business. And what you also, I know you not directly, but I know you because of the people you've worked with. We've name dropped a few people, not in a bragging way, but because we have common acquaintances and we have common friends. And that's what I want everybody to understand, is that this industry is smaller than you think. And I'm glad to be able to provide a platform for people like yourself to be able to bring that forward and stuff like that. So yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Yeah. So if you need us, if you want us, our website is drinkslaw with an S, law.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. Somebody from our team's at almost every major conference. So feel free to kick me an email. I'm slow on LinkedIn, but I do eventually get to it. Or my email is just sbarnes@drinkslaw. So, but I really appreciate it. This has been so freaking fun. So
it always is, and I like that. That's good feedback, and I'll close out with this stuff here. I'm looking forward to hanging out with Brandon again in a couple weeks. I'm only there for one day
cool.
because we have our public testimony. Public hearing for HB 2309 on the 17th. So we're gonna testify and then hop on the airplane and get down to Texas for that. But I'll definitely text him and reach out when I get down there. But what I want to thank you for coming on, and I do want to be serious about this, is that not a lot of people want to get on because they want questions, they want to prep, they want to run through what am I going to ask, and it's a filtration process for me. It's intentional. It's because the authenticity comes out and the real story comes out. I'm not a clickbait person, but I want honesty. And people that don't want to come on because they want questions, to me, that's a flag that you want to prepare because you want to cover something up sometimes. And so I want to thank you for the courage of coming on. And I don't want to undervalue that courage because this world is full of clickbait. It's full of gotcha moments. And the trust that you give me to have your story and to share your story, I respect and value that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. This has been really fun. I really appreciate you having me.
Perfect. Well, I'll close out with my last little thing here is for everybody to understand, it is 2026. It's a beautifully destructive world. And as much as we did talk about drinks and all the fun stuff, I also want people to know that this is a completely authentic thing. Shauna and I have never shared a coffee together, or sat in a bar together. We've never met. The biggest thing on top of learning about drinks and learning how to start a business and how to navigate the adult beverage world is understanding how to connect with strangers and the undervalue that there is in connecting with strangers. And I want people to realize that while your life might be fulfilling and you're listening to this because you're preparing your next business, that doesn't mean the person on the street is dealing with the same thing. So I implore everybody and I challenge everybody 5 minutes a week to be kind to a stranger, no matter where you are. When you're walking down the street, put your phone in your pocket, look strangers in the eye, smile, wave, wallet, whatever. When you're at the coffee shop or you're at the gas station, look to the person next to you filling up their coffee, ask them how they're doing, and don't talk, just listen to what they say and engage on their topic. We talk about ROI on the show all the time. 5 minutes a week, 20 minutes a month being nice to a stranger, you're probably going to change somebody's week, month, year, and God forbid, where we are in this world, if they weren't even planning on staying in this world, you might even change their life because a kindness can go a long way and a great ROI for 20 minutes a month. So, Shauna, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to many more conversations with you. I'm sure we're going to cross paths in person soon enough. Yeah.
Have a feeling. Thanks again.
Take care. Have a great day.
Bye.